Ready to go here.
Do you want to walk through the stuff?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes
We'll
perfect
have more
sense.
talk after. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the New London Planning Board. This is also going to serve as a public hearing for zoning amendments. So, just a quick reminder, we're being recorded for posterity. And also, so that anybody who's not here tonight can take a look and keep up with what's going on. So we're going to jump right into our proposed, the planning board's proposed zoning amendments. Adam's going to walk through some of the changes, and then I think Laura's going to chat briefly too. So.
So the first zoning amendment on the docket, so as a reminder, and for those of you in the audience who maybe haven't been to zoning amendment hearings before, we'll take each one individually, and then if there are no substantive changes to be made, we will take a motion to move them forward to town meeting, at which time they end up on the ballot that is voted on in the booth. For the petition zoning amendment, the procedure is slightly different, where the board does not have the ability to change anything that was proposed. You are simply voting on whether or not you provide your support to the article. And so on the ballot, it will say the planning board supports or the planning board does not support or whatever the case may be. But we don't have the ability to change that. On amendments 1 and 2, if there's a substantive change that we would like to make, then we still have the ability to do that tonight, and then it gets continued until January 28th, when you don't have the ability to make any more changes, and you have to decide, do we move it forward or do we not? So I did reviewed all of these with our attorney, including the petition zoning amendment, and the only issue they found was that we had forgotten to change citation when we renumbered one of the sections. So, which he said would not be a substantive change. Even if we had passed it, we could have made that change. So he was fine with everything. We will jump through now. Any questions before we go on? Anybody? No? Okay. So the first amendment, if you can see it up here on your screen or if you have it in front of you, is the proposal to add a definition to Article 3 for short-term rental. And this definition was one that we pulled from our work last year on the accessory dwelling unit when it was going to be used in that section. We need to have this definition in our ordinance as it is now, because the town staff have been working on writing a potential short-term rental regulation that would be proposed through the selectmen as a business license, not to necessarily limit their ability to exist in one part of town, but as a first step to catalog the number of short-term rentals, so we start to have an idea how many we actually have, what type are they, where are they, and then also to potentially allow, the primary goal is to allow the fire department some level of inspection before they get rented out. So that process really can't happen fully until it's an approved accessory use in the zoning ordinance. But we also have not, we are 9/10 of the way there drafting it, the town administrator, myself, Chief Lyon, and Inspector Matthey. And I expect sometime in the next couple of months, we will be making a proposal to the selectmen. All of that being said, the definition that we are proposing is that a short-term rental is an accessory use of a residential dwelling unit rented for a fee for a period of less than 90 days. And I know we've talked about this a million times, but if anyone has any questions. I think Mary Ann does.
Are there any provisions, or should there be any provisions for rentals that are more than 90 days but less than a year? Does it make any sense to do that in terms of the fire department, all the things that you mentioned for the short-term rentals?
So long-term rentals don't necessarily need something separate defining them in the zoning ordinance. That is purely a residential use. So then they are held to state building codes and different things, which in New Hampshire does not mean that you actually get inspection. To my knowledge, at this point, there has not been a push to inspect traditional rentals from either local inspecting authorities or at the state level. But short-term rentals, the courts have said that they are something unique and different from a traditional long-term rental, which is why it's required to have a separate use in our definitions.
So long-term rental is anything more than 90 days?
That is what we would be saying here, 90,
that's
90,
essentially what it
90 days or more, though.
So we don't have a definition for short-term rentals, correct?
Correct, that's
So you're going to have to add it and renumber all of those. Is that
right, and that should happen automatically. But yes, so that's what this would do, would be that we would reinsert it into, or not reinsert it, but we would insert it
Okay.
into the definitions. And then accessory use, because we're using accessory use in the definition, accessory use is a use allowed in each one of the zones.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Adam. Are there questions from the board? Any other questions? Anyone in the audience? Okay. Thank you.
So then from somebody, we would be looking for, and we have Paul Vance is absent,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you can appoint a alternate.
I remember he was alternate last time. Does anyone know? I guess,
I have no idea.
I don't remember who was alternate last time. I guess, Charlene, would you jump in? Thanks.
Conveniently, we have 3 items they can each vote on.
There you go. So, yeah, we need a motion to move this to the warrant.
Correct.
So move to accept Article 3 definition of short-term rental.
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next one. So I think the easiest thing to do, so you likely all had a copy at your seat of the most, I guess I would say, up-to-date version with some blue lettering on it. That includes, Paul Vance is sick tonight, but he got in touch this afternoon with a few edits that he made, or that he was suggesting that we make. And so I put them into the previously most up-to-date draft, but put them in blue ink so that it was easier for us to see. So I think perhaps letting Laura go first and just sort of speak to the importance of this amendment to the college, then we can sort of jump into the nitty-gritty of what these potential items are and how that, whether or not the board wants to add them in moving forward or wants to revert to the old proposal.
Before you start, can I just get clarification? The red is what we've been working on to date. The blue are potentially, those are changes suggested by Paul after he's reviewed this.
Correct.
And tonight, we're going to act on both the red and the blue in order to recommend, if we do, that this go forward for
Yep.
town meeting.
Yep, so we can, after Laura speaks, I can walk through each one of the blue ones to just sort of explain. It's really like one edit that then gets implemented in places, right? So I think that's probably the easiest way.
The college has asked the town to amend the zoning ordinance in the institutional recreational zone to allow lights on the Sally Shaw Beach track and field and access road lighting for safety. Currently, lighting is not allowed under the zoning regulations for this parcel. The field to be lit is the middle of 3 located on the Kelsey Athletic Campus off Seamans Road, and for those of you familiar with the parcel, it is the field with the track around it. We introduced this request in the fall of 2024, inviting abutters and town officials to a meeting on the Kelsey Athletic Campus to explain our rationale and plan. We have since worked with the planning board and interested abutters to draft language for the zoning amendment. Lighting the Sally Shaw Beach track and field is crucial to the success of our athletic program. We are adding 2 additional sports in the fall of 2025, bringing the number of teams vying for practice and contest space in the Hogan Sports Center and fields to 18. Colby Sawyer College is the only institution in our athletic conference without field lighting. The field and access road lighting will conform to Dark Sky International standards, which prescribe LED lights aimed downward with shields on the sides of the lights so the light does not spill out to the sides or upward. The lights will be controlled remotely so that they can be turned off using an app at a scheduled time. Lights will be turned off at 9 p.m. or dimmed and then turned off at the conclusion of contests. The zoning amendment specifies that the field may be lighted Monday through Saturday and limits the number of non-Colby Sawyer College athletic events to 20 per year. The amendment also specifies decibel levels that must not be exceeded by the college's public address system. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay. So, Laura gave you a copy. Do you guys want copies with the blue, or are you? Okay, all right. Bear with us. We'll get through it. So, on the first page there, Paul's underlying thought for this was that repeatedly saying Sally Shaw Veach track and field was a bit of a mouthful throughout the ordinance, and that perhaps we add a definition for Veach field that then we can simplify in the rest of the document to Veach field, and the definition of Veach field being the turf playing field area currently named Sally Shaw Veach Track and Field at the Kelsey Athletic Campus. And so then you'll see under field lighting definition just up above there, and then again under access roads and parking area, it's the reduction of the full phrase to Veach field. And then I think there's one other spot that he emailed me about right before, and I'd already printed these, so it doesn't have that. But under 3, so B, it's on page 2, B3A, first bullet. He said, the long reference to Sally Veach Field, etc., is really not needed since field lighting and access road are each defined as only relating to Veach Field. If you think necessary, the long phrase might be replaced by a parenthetical limited to Veach Field. As it is, you would need to repeat the long descriptor of Veach Field after both field lighting and after access road and parking area lighting. So what he's saying is that because the definitions of both field lighting and access road and parking area include the Sally Shaw Veach Track and Field, that we can strike that in line 2, really that whole part of currently named Sally Veach. Does that make sense to folks? So it would read, field lighting and access roads and parking area lighting. Yes, shall be allowed. And then in bullet 2, those changes were made to incorporate the definitions that then tie back to the Sally Shaw Veach Field by using field lighting and access road. That's in those definitions. And he suggested that we remove the newly and the little L lighting so that it's just any proposed field lighting, whether it's newly proposed or formerly proposed, it shall be held to the highest dark sky compliant lights, and then changing that little L lighting to capital F, capital L field lighting so that it reverts back to the definition. And then under B, you'll see a blue S that was simply access roads, should have been plural. And then further down, in the event, we had in the event of a delay of game, he suggested changing it to in the event a game is delayed, and then adding the definition reference field lighting. And I believe that was that's the last change he offered there. So I guess looking for questions on those. I think Marianne has.
I have a question.
Sorry, Emily. Okay, Emily, then Marianne.
Go ahead, you want to go?
No, my question is about the word currently, so I think it's a question of what does the college call it?
Right.
So the word currently seems like,
Where
Which
are
part
you?
is that in, Charlene?
Charlene?
well,
Definition,
it's
you mean?
actually in both. In the definition, the turf playing field area currently named, I mean, it is named that, and it would still be named that. So I don't know if the word currently confuses the issue.
And we, so if this all passes, when it goes in the ordinance, we put a citation that this was amended at the 2025 town meeting. So there would be sort of a timestamp on this section that would lead you to believe that that's what it was called in 2025. So I think you're right to eliminate the currently. We would know that it was when it was written, that's what it was called.
Yeah, and I think, because if they change the name or something like that, that would be a different thing, but it would still apply to that.
So where was the
Field.
second usage, Charlene? In the section that Paul wanted to strike out already?
Yes.
Okay, so that one and then the one in the definition.
Yep.
Okay, all right, got those, thank you.
Adam?
It's one of those words that's almost never needed, actually.
Right.
And then, yeah, you had a question, Emily?
I had a
and then
question.
was
I
gonna
just wanted to ask Laura, I know that Sally Shaw Veach has contributed substantial amounts of money to this college, and I would hate to have her offended by the loss of Sally Shaw, because I know that, having known her personally, Shaw means a lot to her. And it would make me nervous if I had given, it's probably pretty picky, but I just knowing Sally, I couldn't vote for it.
We're going to keep it in the full name in the first reference in the definition, right? So we're just talking about a subsequent.
About the Veach Field.
Right, but if we have the full name in the definition.
Somewhere.
Right, we would have that, right?
Right, but I'm just a little nervous about, anyway, that's just my feeling.
Okay. Marianne, you had a question?
Can
Oh,
I
yeah.
just follow up?
Yeah,
that-
so-
Where does Veach come from? Is that a completely different person? Just out of, or is that a word I just, like, to your point, like, where if we're cutting off part of that, are those two different people? And the name was put together? What is,
No, that's her name,
That's her
no,
That's
I
her
know,
name.
her full name.
is,
So-
okay, Veach is her last name.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was
Right.
trying to clarify. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha, so we're not leaving out a person by.
Right, that's
Okay,
what I was
yep.
wondering, if it was some combination, the way you said
No,
that.
I
didn't know if
lived
it was
next door
some
to her in
combination
Denver,
of-
1968 to 72. So I know her personally.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I hear your concern. Thanks, Aaron. And Marianne, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Does it make any sense? Is it useful in the definition of the Veach field to identify that that's the middle parcel? I've never seen that middle one identified as the Sally Shaw Veach one. Where's the placard for that, Laura?
It's. There is a placard. It is,
Where is it?
right on the fence.
What's that?
I think it's on the fence.
Okay.
I think the hard part, Marianne, with identifying that it's all on one property, so there's not necessarily like boundaries that exist to tie it to by saying parcel. I mean, because typically parcel for us means an actual lot of record.
Well, maybe we could say something like the middle playing field or
But
something like that.
Although a few meetings ago, it was, I was the one that I think that had suggested that we refer to it as the Sally Shaw Beach turf field, because that's what we call it, that's what the sign says, that designates that particular field and not any of the other two.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, so if this were adopted, all of these meeting materials become part of the legislative record, so that if there was ever confusion on how to interpret this ordinance, which ironically we had to use when the Fieldhouse went forward. We had to pull out the legislative record from when this exact section of the ordinance was written in like 2003 to figure out what that meant for the access road. So in theory, whoever might be charged with figuring that out if we're all gone in 35 years would be able to see we were specifically talking about the center field by the fact that it's been captured in minutes and videos. And so I think it's relatively clear, given the college has specificity in the name there, and it's the turf track and field. I think if anybody tried to look back in 2025 for what existed for a track and a turf field, it would be very clear where that is.
That's helpful. Thanks, Adam. Marianne, does that address your concern?
I'm sorry?
Does that address your concern?
Well, it appears as though there's preponderance of support for leaving it the way it is. Just seems easier, rather than having to go back and review the legislative record. You don't call it a parcel, just section of the,
Yep, I get that. Okay, thank you. And then, Emily, as far as if we were to keep as far as you're concerned, Sally Shaw Beach Track and Field for field lighting as a first reference, like, the full name is in there, so does that work for you from a?
It does.
I mean, so you could point to that and say, this is just it's just a
personal thing.
Yeah, and I think the flip side was just the ease of use. Right. Yep. I think just to make it kind of reader friendly, it's sometimes easier to shrink it down a little bit so you can get through it,
Question.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, one sec. Charlene, go ahead.
Under purpose, which is not in red, it says Sally Beach Track and Field, and should that say Shaw?
Yep.
Yes, and that, so that's not necessarily a part of the actual amendment. That's just the explanation. So yes, I will add that in.
Thank you for that. Good catch, Marianne.
I don't remember, or maybe I didn't hear, did we address the currently named under B3A in the second line?
Yeah, we're gonna shrink that down because that part would come out.
Okay,
So because it's essentially redundant as it is now. So it would say field lighting and access road and parking area lighting shall be allowed at the Kelsey Athletic Campus. So it'll kind of skip over that whole middle section.
got it.
Yeah.
A little senior moment there.
No worries. It's a lot of moving parts. Is everyone clear on what we're talking about so far? Do you have anything else you want to say?
I would just, for video's sake, ask if anybody in the audience.
Well, for sure, but I didn't know if you had anything else. Okay. Any questions, comments from the public? Any others? Okay. Okay, so hearing none from the public, and it sounds like people on the board, I'm looking around, seems like we're okay. What we would need a motion as well, and we think this would go to continue this, correct? To
Right,
the-
so your motion would be to continue to a second public hearing on the 28th because of the changes. So then we'll just tack that on right before our site plan review that night. At that point, we can't make any changes. It should be a procedure at that point, unless someone has something burning between now and then that they think of that would keep them from supporting it. Otherwise, we would just be motioning to move forward.
So we just need a motion to continue this hearing on this aspect of it to the 28th.
So, second.
So Emily moved, I heard Marianne second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstaining? And then I should have asked to vote, sorry, Aaron, could you vote on that one, just because we're rotating here? Thank you. Okay, great.
Thank you, Laura, for being so involved
Yes.
in this process.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it. Appreciate all of the time you've committed to this.
Okay.
Give us 1 minute while we switch gears here.
Do you guys want to jump in, or do you want me to give an overview and then?
Do you want to just come up and do the blurb, Greg? Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Thanks, Laura.
Hi, I'm Greg Berger. I'm one of the petitioners and owner of Spring Ledge Farm. Thanks for hearing us out. We are requesting that the lots and portions of lots as shown in the petition be rezoned as commercial. The area is adjacent to existing commercially zoned areas, as you can see on the map. Both businesses have been in their current location in the community for decades. In fact, Mary Beth said she found something from, what was the date that? 1956. 1956 was when Kirk something started the business in her building. And then Spring Ledge was started in the 70s as a farm stand. The change in zoning will better fit the actual use of that area as businesses and commercial properties. The Town of New London Master Plan does note that preferred locations for new commercial development are along Newport Road and in the Main Street areas, which correspond with areas or adjacent to areas currently developed and zoned for business development. I think codifying the commercial aspect of the farm by rezoning would help ensure the future of local agriculture here in New London, especially along Main Street, where a commercial farm stand creates diversity in type, look, and feel in the center of town. I was reading back over some past master plans, and it looks like the proposed change in zoning also ties in with the general tone of a form-based code of zoning, which is very interesting. It's first I'd heard of it, so I may be overstepping here, but that's highlighted in the 2021 New London Master Plan document as a favorable planning strategy. So it seems like a form-based code promotes neighborhood compatibility of buildings and surroundings and uses, kind of like a mixed-use thing. Spring Ledge and Angeles fit well into this type of zoning code since they are an attraction and destination, which can be reached by foot or vehicle right in the middle of town. They're landscaped with large and visually appealing gardens where many pedestrians slow down and stop and smell the flowers. They're situated on land, well, Spring Ledge certainly situated on land along the top of the hill in New London that is prime agricultural soil, and having the farm situated there allows for the best use of that land, in my opinion, while increasing the chances that the farm or any future agricultural farm there will survive due to the favorable retail location right on Main Street. And it also helps by adding diversity of businesses along Main Street. We've got retail there, and we have open fields behind both sections that we're speaking about. It's walkable, and with the ability and willingness and space to provide extra parking for town events and the barn playhouse, et cetera. So thanks for that consideration, and happy to answer questions as we go along.
Greg, when we rezoned across the street a number of years ago, you were asked if you wanted to be part of that, and you declined. Refresh my memory, why did you do it then?
We were actually both asked, and we were on board with it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then,
One person at a time, please.
sorry, yeah, we were on board with it, and we helped get signatures, all that good stuff. And then at one point, I don't remember the exact timing of it, but it was sometime during these meetings or just a little before, Frank Anzalone, who was spearheading it, said, you're not on it anymore. And I've not ever been able to get an exact answer as to why.
Okay, and I don't remember, but.
I got a little bit.
You got a little.
Mary Beth, you have to
Yeah,
speak
to come
into
up to
that.
the mic, yeah, thanks, just so we can capture it.
We were part of that because it made more sense also, but I was told that at the time, Frank was told it would move faster if it was just a contiguous side and not across the street, where his is partly under conservation. It might complicate it, and that's why we were dropped. But we are in all the original documents that were drawn up too. So we decided to wait and see what happened, and now we're back.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
One other quick note on that, on the maps, the original one or not the original one, but the past one with Frank, the Spring Ledge portion was a much bigger area. It was 500 feet from the center of the road, so it was about 8 acres, and I think that may have spooked people thinking, well, that's big enough to put a Walmart there or whatever.
That was it. Now I remember.
Was that it? Okay.
That was it. That
Okay.
was the whole point.
So this version is a much smaller, it's just a little over an acre, and it encompasses the farm stand itself and the little sales greenhouse that's attached to it, and then that's all we're.
Okay, thank you.
That's helpful. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, I think
All right.
I don't know if Mary Beth has anything to add.
Yeah. Well, first, Mary Beth, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay, so then I'm going to ask the board if they have questions. Does anyone on the board have questions? Okay. The public, you all being the public, I suppose, you don't have any other questions. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Greg.
I don't know if you've perused the signatures, but we did get signatures from the neighbors.
Yep.
And so they understand what we're trying to do, and they're in favor, and they signed, and we're certainly, and you know, we left it that we're always open to having them ask about what's going on and all that, so.
Yep, thank you.
Correct. Yep.
So yeah, the board would just need then, because this is not from us, we just need a motion to support this, if that's what we'd like to do, rather than, this is not something, it's going to be at town meeting regardless of what we do, so now that's just the, as Adam explained earlier, it's just the question of whether it gets our stamp of approval, if you will. It sounds like, I'm looking around seeing heads, it seems like this is something that the board would support.
I'd move that we support this proposal.
Second.
Okay, so Paul moved that we support it, Mary Ann seconded. Who's voting now?
I think David.
David, can you vote on this one? Okay, thank you. So David's going to be the alternate voter on this one. All in favor of supporting this?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you. And just a word of advice, I wouldn't be shy in letting, voters around town know. A couple of well-placed letters to the editor and things might be a good idea. A little sign at the, I don't know how many more winter markets you have for the season, but, we don't do a lot of outreach. We'll talk about them, a bit at our meetings between now and then. How many YouTube viewers we get, I'm not sure. It depends on the topic that it's on the agenda with. But, don't be shy.
Yeah, thank you as well. Thanks very much.
guys.
Have a good night. Stay warm. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. I don't believe we have any other business. I'm trying to think of townwide updates. We have some changing staff in the town office. Cara and Jen both left for new endeavors. One the week before Christmas, the one the week of Christmas. And so if you come into the town office between now and next Friday, you will either see Kim and I or Lynn pretty much at the front desk, so we are happy to help you. I was able to help Emily get some files the other day. Even though we're not as fast as those ladies were, we muddled through downstairs to our best of our abilities, but we have hired somebody for one of the positions that hopefully starts the end of next week, so things are looking good. And then I forgot that tonight is Kelsey's first planning board minutes because she has done the zoning board and housing commission already for me. So we are very happy to have Kelsey Clark doing minutes.
I mention who she's related to.
She's her own person. She can stand on her own 2 feet if she wants to share. And anything else town office wise? The budget stuff's continuing to slog through. We have another budget committee hearing tomorrow night. Charlene was at the last one. It was long. I don't think there's really anything else.
Well, that's delightful. So,
Our next meeting's the 28th. We have a site plan review for interior changes to Bar Harbor Bank, Ledyard Bank, for a pretty substantial interior renovation, but no exterior changes, so it shouldn't be anything too crazy.
Are you doing an in-place site review at Ledyard?
no.
in
No,
for-
no, not a site
In
visit.
advance of our meeting?
No site visit for this, unless you see something that night that you think needs it, but it's really reworking of the teller line, some new walls for some offices, and then full aesthetic renovation, although that part doesn't really need site plan. It's the change to the interior layout that brings them here.
It's a shame they don't want our opinion on the aesthetics, but that's okay.
I know.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you can't give it.
Right. Anything else? You're good?
I think that's it.
Okay, we just need a motion to adjourn. So moved. Marianne, motion and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Thanks, everybody.